Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Direct Insurance Podcast, otherwise known as DIP, a podcast for independent insurance agents brought to you by Insurance Advisors Direct. I'm your host. My name is Kelsey. I am the digital marketing assistant as well as social media strategist here at IAD. And today I have three very special guests with me today. I have a couple of our IAD agents here with me today. I have in studio, I have Tripp, Ruben Rodriguez, and Andrea Hicks. And today we are going to be talking about client horror stories. The good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. So I'm very excited to hear from you guys. So Dan, please go ahead and take over the microphone and introduce yourself to the audience.
All right. Thank you, Kelsey. Yes, my name's Tripp. I've been in the insurance frame, or if you will, the space for 33 years. Been with Northwestern Mutual, John Hancock, New England Financial, and now I'm an independent agent specializing in long-term care insurance.
Awesome.
Thank you, Kelsey, for having me on today. My name is Ruben Rodriguez. I'm out of the Phil Klein Insurance Group. I've been in the industry, I would say, in and off on the Medicare side, about 8 years. I've come with a little different perspective. I actually have the P&C background, worked for a couple of large carrier organizations on the Medicare side and also on the auto insurance side. I worked for AAA, Priority Health, HAP, got a little bit of work in with Humana and UHC on their call center side. But for me, looking forward to kind of alleviating and let you guys know a little bit of my story and what I've experienced through my 8 years of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Kelsey. I'm Andrea Hicks, and I'm an independent Medicare agent, and I am able to sell 13 different carriers. With Medicare, I can also do life insurance and annuities, and I do have some funny and horror stories that I can share. So I appreciate this. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So what we are going to be talking about today, like I said before, are client horror stories. So when you're an independent agent and you're working with the general public, you tend to come across some weird stuff or just some really extreme things, like maybe you've knocked on somebody's door and then you were anticipating on, sitting down with Jane Doe, and then John Doe came to the door and he was in his underwear or something, and then you're kind of like, do you want to go put some pants on, sir, before I come down and sit down at your dining room table? Like, what's going to happen? So, when you work with the general public, there are some things you kind of want to look out for and maybe ways to kind of correct those situations. Or maybe with hindsight being 2020, what could we have done differently? So let's go ahead. And Dan, I would love for you to kind of share your horror stories in just whatever happened to you and your client experiences.
Well, one case really comes to mind. I had met this guy through another job that I had as a part-time DJ in a bar, and this guy used to hang out in there, and he told me how he needed life insurance because he had a kid and didn't have any insurance, and so he invited me to his house. And I drive up on a Saturday to his house and go in and sit at the dining room table, and I look up, and the ceiling in his dining room and kitchen is completely covered with flies.
Oh.
And it's like, am I in the right place today? Did I just walk into a horror movie?
Oh, no.
Where are the cameras? Come on. He didn't faze him. It was like,
Gotcha moment.
Oh, I'm going this, and I have some flies,
Just a couple,
So skittish for flies. I'm like flies, and there had to be 1,000 of them in that kitchen.
Ew.
That's disturbing.
Gross.
And I still, when I drive by, he lived on Milford Drive, going out towards the GM Tech the center out there. Whenever I'm out there and I drive by there, I go, God, there's his house. I have more interesting things. Like, I used to teach agent skill. Handling objections is always a big deal. So, you've got to be able to accept no, and you have to be able to dance with them when it's obvious that they're just trying to get more information out of you. And I had a young couple I was referred to, and I went to their house to talk about life insurance. This is early in my career, in which I pretty much only did life insurance first 2 or 3 years. And they told me that they didn't need life insurance because they believed that the second coming was imminent and that they would be raptured and that they wouldn't need the insurance. And
Okay.
To this day, I've not had a real answer for that. I just said, hey, cool.
I think they were set then.
They were set. Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. God is your insurance policy. Okay.
Would you like to make Jesus your beneficiary?
Yeah.
you could put it as a church. You could make a donation.
Yeah.
And I'll be the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just at that point in my career, it was better not to argue
I understand
or
that.
to dance with that one. I
Absolutely.
I said, hey, well, thanks for your time. I'll see you later. And I'm sure you guys have seen this too in your practices. I had a guy tell me he didn't need life insurance because his wife was hot and she'd get remarried. And I'm looking at his wife over on the other side of the yard, and A, she's not hot, and B, she's got 3 kids under 5.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're talking about cliches. One is the wrestle with a pig one. Never wrestle with a pig because you get all dirty and the pig likes it. And that's where I was with that guy. There was just no way I was going to.
You're in a lose-lose.
I was losing. And you run into people who have every excuse under the sun for not doing it.
Absolutely.
And it's building that skill up to be able to recognize what they're actually doing and learn how to paint them into a corner so they can't get out. Yeah, that's just a couple, 3 of the things that came to mind instantly. Now, I'm sure I'll pick up on some more as you guys talk, too.
The crazy thing that I find about life insurance too is that nobody really realizes how important it is in your life, or just even because it's more like it's not money for you, it's money for your family. I mean, so my mom is a funeral home admin. She's the executive admin at a funeral home. And she told me that the average cost right now for a funeral that includes like maybe like 1 day of visitation and then not even including a burial, like we're talking about like maybe they're cremated, it's still $15,000. And it's like, who
so
in the world has
expensive.
$15,000 just laying around? So it's like, yeah, even if your wife is hot and can get remarried, I mean, is she like, unless she's got like the sugar daddy lined up to pay for your funeral, right after you go,
And it works for the funeral department.
yeah, it's like there's no way.
And the thing is, if you know when you're going to die, you know how much insurance to buy and what day to buy it, right? So,
I don't have that crystal ball.
Only if we knew.
yeah,
Only
right.
if we knew.
You know, the great Karnak, right? The Johnny Carson thing. Yeah.
Okay, so Ruben, let's go ahead and have you talk about a couple of your client horror stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I don't have 33 years experience in a lot of cliches. I've run into a few in my passing, but I do have one this recently that just came up for a client of mine that I've been trying to get him into. So I also deal with ACA, the Affordable Care Act. So I was calling him, trying to get him into his insurance during open enrollment period, but last November he kept blowing me off and saying, "Oh, I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't need it," and I haven't heard from him. Right? It's been 3-4 months passing, and then lo and behold, he calls me 2 weeks ago. And 2 weeks ago, he's like, "Ruben, how do I get health insurance?" I'm like, "Well, we're a little bit past the time frame for you to get it. Open enrollment has closed. I mean, did you have a kid? Did you have any type of certain circumstances that could open you up?" He goes, "No, I got a girlfriend." I'm like, "Are you married to her? Are you getting married?" Trying to find avenues for, to see what can get him. Yeah, did you move? Anything I can try to find an SEP for him. Nope, none of that. Well,
Did you go to jail?
yeah, anything, any incarceration. I'm looking at all the avenues to try to check. And there is. And then he answered no to all of them. And I'm like, well, we're kind of stuck here. We can put you on a short-term policy for a little bit. But before that, before we even, let's take it back even before getting him into the option of a short-term policy, he was in the hospital for 15 days. No health insurance. He was out of work because he couldn't go to work. And he goes, "I got the bill." And he was shocked. He didn't know what to do. That bill was...
More than his house.
Yes.
Yeah.
He showed me the bill, and I was like, I mean, you really can't do it. You might have to file for bankruptcy. It was that bad. 15 days. They ran over 30 tests with him, and they couldn't figure it out. It was $98,000 for his bill and some change.
Honestly, that's a little bit cheaper than what I thought it was
Yeah,
going to be.
yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking it's like
Well,
$150,000.
So it was more than that, but they gave him a discount. So they said,
Have insurance.
because they said, well, you can make this payment and we'll put you on this plan and we'll give you this price. So it was around $170, but then they gave him he got a break from like no other. Maybe the people that were praying for him, said a little prayer for him and he was able to do that, but he could not.
Maybe that's what thoughts and prayers can do.
Hey, I was like, you're lucky. I mean, that's a large bill still. But he was like, "I don't know why I didn't listen to you." I'm like, "Well, I called you several times. Called you. I let you know. I even sent an email. You thought you were invincible." And this also goes back to the life insurance aspect. You're not invincible. We all have an expiration date. whether that is postponing an expiration date by having something so you go to the hospital. And, that's just one of the more recent ones that I've experienced. Now he's he's got a short-term plan. Luckily, we were able to find a carrier, but it's only going to give him a bridge, and he still owes all that money.
Yeah.
So now he's got a payment plan on top of paying his insurance premiums that we're going to look for this November.
And he can only have it for months.
And he can only have his first 6 months, so he's going to have another gap. So, if he has another hospital issue, stent doctor visits, they're going to want to do follow-ups. I mean, Kelsey, you mentioned earlier, follow-up for doctors are, $250 a visit. I mean, this all adds up. And, medical bills are one of the worst that could happen to you. It could bankrupt you. If you own a home, they can come take your home. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen to you. And so, that's just one. He's a young kid. He's 25 years old.
And especially since, too, like if you look at what the average income is in the state of Michigan, they say that the average is about $63,000 a year. That's the average salary for Michigan. But a lot of people that are in their 20s, 30s, maybe even early 40s are making on average about $35,000 a year if they're lucky. I mean, and most people, you can't afford to live on a single income. So
Absolutely.
as a single person who's unmarried, and yeah, sure, you've got a girlfriend, but guess what? Girlfriends are expensive, okay? We like to be wined and dined, So that man's not going to have that girlfriend around for very long if he can't wine her and dine her because he's spending essentially like a mortgage payment every single month, which is probably, if I'm assuming correctly, unless there's any interest or whatever on the payments that he's making on that care, he's probably paying at least $1,000 a month. And if he's not living at home with his parents and he's got, like an apartment or his own house
on top of that.
Yeah.
On top of
it's
that.
absolutely insane. And this is the reason why I explain to so many agents, I'm like, you have to explain to your clients or potential clients on social media as to the reasons why insurance is so important and why you cannot wait. Tomorrow is never promised. You could walk out of here today, get hit by a bus, you could get in, heaven forbid, get into an accident. You never know. Yeah.
That bus is always there.
That bus is always
That
there.
bus is always there. It hit Regina George in Mean Girls, and it's not going to wait for you.
It's got to stop. It's got to stop. That bus stop is always there.
It is.
It's always there. And so that's one guy. And then you mentioned earlier that you deal with long-term care. Is that correct? Also in the Medicare space, I deal with Medicare. So Medicare recipients, they don't really know that Medicare doesn't cover long-term care. So that's another aspect or avenue to where I had a client that thought that they didn't need it. And eventually, long story short, something happened to them medically. They end up having to be put into a long-term care facility, and they didn't realize that long-term care facilities were not covered by their Medicare plan. For one, when I educated them on it, they said, oh, we don't need it and we'll pass on it. And his family has the sources to take care of that, and they thought that they could pay their way out of it with the resources that they had. Well, you can attest to, how much a long-term care facility will cost you in the event that you do not have insurance, right? Absolutely. And if you don't have that or plan for it, then you're kind of up creek without a paddle, right?
That doesn't count the therapies, the doctors, if there's any outside treatments that have to be done, the transportation to and from the doctor. A lot of places now today provide that. And I know Medicare Advantage plans, a lot of them have a benefit for that. But typically, though, there's all kinds of add-ons. There's a facility in Waterford called Canterbury on the Lake, I believe it's called. There, and I went and visited them in 1999 because a friend of mine's sister was the managing director, so I was trying to sell her insurance. And she showed me their schedule of stuff, and it was all a la carte. And the average day was $310.
A day?
A day.
Wow.
So that's $9,000 a month.
Absolutely.
In 1999.
At what point is it just cheaper to
Die?
Where's that bus?
I was gonna say, at what point is it just cheaper to commit a really, really bad crime and go to jail? Now, I'm obviously not condoning that you should tell your clients
the bus could come.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, and they ended up into a situation where Medicaid had to step in, right? And so now when Medicaid steps in, now they start looking at your assets and they start looking at your home. And now they're like, you have a pretty nice home. That can help you pay for your long-term care.
Although now they can't use the home as an asset.
Yes.
Until you're dead.
Yes.
then they can come and take it.
And,
to pay for their care.
but that's the conversation that I'm having, and
Yeah.
is like, so now when they come after you, your parent is perished, and they've worked so hard for all of this their whole life, that still is at risk, right?
Unless there's some
Yeah, you can put it in a trust. Yeah, then they can't touch it. Yeah, there's some things there, but for the most part, right?
Right.
They didn't take advantage of what was available to them when they had the disposable income at the time, and that's one of the biggest conversations. They don't want to let go of that money.
Do you realize that we are in a unique position? We're in a proactive space, and the reactive space, we can't help them anymore. It's too late now, right? I mean, in long-term care, I work with SCADs of assisted living facilities, not with their patients. They're outside of the realm, but their kids are seeing what mom and dad are going through, and that opens up a little door in their mind that says, do I want to saddle my kids?
Because they're opening up the checkbook. Essentially.
Yeah, that's right.
So they see the checkbook.
So, I mean, if we do a good job on a proactive bent, right, we're showing people that what we do is a benefit, not a bill, then, we're probably going to be our clientele is going to be much happier and a lot more peace of mind.
And I'm not just the old, run-of-the-mill insurance agent trying to shove a policy down your throat, right? I mean, I think
I think all three of us sitting here would agree.
But I think that's the biggest obstacle that, sometimes we face is, I don't need it, and why are you trying to sell this to me? And we just got to paint that picture a little bit better, and I'm doing that as best I can. But like I said, that was one horror story that I wish I could take back and kind of revisit and remove that bus out of the situation, and and shine a lot more light on it, just so the kids. But I wish I would have talked to the kids instead of the person itself. And I think and that's one proactive situation where I'm gonna start taking this. Let me talk to your family. Let's bring the family involved in this case. But yeah, that's two of the stories that I have at the moment.
I'm not even gonna lie, because if I hadn't lost my father, I probably wouldn't have seen a huge benefit to life insurance. I'm not even gonna lie, because you don't think about this when you're in your 20s and or even in your early 30s and when you're young. But at the same time, again, you never know when that bus is coming. So, and especially if you're a young person, or even if you're an older person and you have kids, you have a house, you have a spouse, or even if you don't have kids or have a spouse, there's still somebody that has to take care of your assets when you pass. There was something that I had watched on YouTube once about this lady who was kind of decluttering stuff in her home, where they were talking about Swedish death cleaning. And this idea behind Swedish death cleaning is, what is it that you are going to have to hold on to? Or what things in your life do you actually need? Because when you pass, what is somebody going to have to clean up behind you when you're gone? And so if you have all of these other assets, there is somebody that is going to have to take the time, the money, and the energy in order to clean up after you. And if your house is an absolute pigsty, and things have to be thrown away in large quantities, that person's probably going to have to rent a dumpster.
Believe me, my wife watches Hoarders every single day, and I'm just like, wow, the things that the family has to go through, not only just the person, that's a shame, that person needs some help to get through the situation that they are in, right? I mean, there is an illness there, but the family coming in after it, and then having to clean up after that family and kind of relive all the memories that triggered, some of the things, because obviously that impacts you as well, the family member, not just them, because you lose touch with that family member. You don't talk to them as much. They probably become, distant, and you don't want to have that distance, and their health is, for the most part, is at risk as well. So it's terrible. It's a terrible situation.
Okay, Andrea, let's go ahead and hear your horror stories now.
Okay, because we're talking life insurance. I'm going to go into Medicare, because here I've faced being, of course, a rookie and learning some new things. What has hit me hard is our veterans. Now, not learning, again, this is what it's about, because you don't get all the information that you need. One gentleman, again, he was a veteran, went to the VA. Wonderful. When I met him, he was on a MAPD. Oh, I'm on an MAPD. I want a different one. I want better, benefits. Great. So we'll put you on a different MAPD. Well, he, again, a veteran, and very kind of sometimes gets a little angry when things don't go his way. And he called me, and I'm going to get a bill for this plan you put me on. Why? And so I thought, let's reinvestigate this. Again, always check, especially with your veterans. he doesn't have Part D. So
Infamous.
here we go. Again, now we're talking when you don't sign up for, let's say, Part B. You don't sign up for Part D. Now we're talking too. Guess what? You're going to pay. The government's not going to care. You have penalties. They don't go away. So this is where I've had some horror stories, not just with this gentleman, but with others. So then he calls me. He's irate. Again, not taking that pause moment. I'm like, okay, do what you want. And he just canceled the plan. Well, oops, because now being in our time frame of annual enrollment to open enrollment, I was like, oh, we can put you on a different honors plan because you're a vet. No, because he canceled that plan. So,
You want to do it once.
yeah. So, admittedly, I actually called Medicare and told them myself and fought to get this vet some coverage because it was like, look, he served our country. He worked hard. He was just upset over money. But again, we don't talk about this. Advertisements, you barely hear anything about Part D. And again, as Medicare agents, we do know what you get paid for selling a PD plan. Well, let's not lie. Not a lot of money. But if you don't...
Buy an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So...
It's that.
Exactly. So that's the thing, though, that is unfortunate because they're getting hit with almost having to buy the ice cream store.
Could you have done a 5-star?
No, because the 5-star plans that we have
MAPD
is MAPD.
has a prescription drug attached to it, so he still got the penalty.
So, and this is something that's really coming up a lot with just where I am with a D-SNP community and the veteran community is not only are they not with D, guess what? A lot don't have B. Mm-hmm. So this is a huge issue.
Because no one told them they had to apply.
Exactly. So this is why I'm bringing it up because they are screaming at me and I'm going, but I'm the one who's trying to help you with solutions. Again, the solutions, I'm not trying to just sell you something, I'm trying to help you, but I can only help you so much because the government binds my hands after a certain amount of time. So it was heartbreaking and it was sad on all aspects. Horror against, and then it was so funny because I, hey, you did a bad thing because he canceled that plan. And then it comes to find out, they're like, so who told Medicare how this happened? I'm like, oh, I told on myself.
You
telling on yourself.
You called CMS directly, huh?
So,
but they rectified the situation.
Okay, so great for him. He has coverage. Bad for me. I didn't get paid, but because I told on myself. But the thing is that, again, the horror stories are out there. Mm-hmm. Just they're not being told that our vets need guidance and we need to educate them. The other thing is being a rookie and getting out there, getting known is, hey, jump in with Priority Health and go to Kroger. It's easier to sell Girl Scout cookies than it is to be a Medicare agent.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I scared people constantly because guess what? I get to go, hi, and women jump. Oh my gosh, I thought you were a statue. Are you kidding me? Am I that scary? I mean, okay, you guys are sitting here. I'm not that scary. So, but this is also where we're trying to get out there and be a part of communities, and we are not allowed to do anything. Like I said,
can't be proactive.
Right. So but that again, I scared so many people because basically it is, I'm standing by a sign that says, hey, Priority Health. Okay. Hi. And then they're like, ah!
Like, who's Minnie Mouse over here?
So yeah, that was a huge, or the other thing was all the hands in my faces. And I'm not lying. People literally walk by me and just put their hands right in my face. And I'm like, didn't even say a word.
That's what happens when you work in the public.
Yeah.
Especially in a store where they're not expecting you.
I was going to say, I actually do have something to add to this. So before I started working at IAD, I actually was starting a job with, I'm not going to name the company because just in best interest of the company, was that it was basically I was a representative for AT&T.
Okay.
But I was employed by another company. So I was essentially like an independent agent for AT&T hired through this company. I was in this job for 2 days because I was like, absolutely not. This is like retail, but with extra steps.
Yeah.
So they have you in these wholesale clubs like BJ's, Targets, Walmart, wherever, trying to get people to either upgrade their AT&T plan or like buy a new phone, whatever the case may be. And the number of people that will just like pretend they don't see you or they just ignore you. I mean, it's like, dang, like, is this how women feel when they get catcalled on the street? Like, am I the cat caller now? You know, like this is how I'm like, this is the reality of what happens. And so granted, the more, what I did find though, that by the second day, I was like, okay, well, maybe I should take more of like a natural approach to this. And I would just go up to talk to people and I would walk away from the stand and be like, hey, how's it going? Like, blah, blah, blah. Just start a conversation, then kind of like work my way into talking about the phones and stuff. But I mean, a lot of the time you still do get that same objection, which I was like, okay, well, whatever. But the reason why I ended up leaving was because I had taken my break and I came back, and the girl who was training me was on the phone with the president of our company because there was a customer that had come back and she had brought back all of the phones that she bought and was just freaking out because the girl who had sold her the original phones and the plans told her that, like, okay, your first bill is going to be absolutely insane because, you know, you've got all these like new activation fees. And then like, no, she did like the entire like AT&T bundle, like
She sold her.
Yeah, like, you know, the whole like TV, internet, you know, cell phones, you know, the whole shebang. So she was like, okay, your first bill is going to be absolutely crazy. The second bill is still going to be like a little bit high, but then by the third bill, that's going to be like your normal monthly bill. The customer came back and was freaking out because she was like, guys, I'm now having to decide between whether I can feed my kids or pay this cell phone bill. She was like, just give me my old T-Mobile plan back. I don't want to deal with this anymore. She was like, I've been paying $3,000 a month for this stuff and I can't afford it.
Wow.
And that's when I was like, deuces, I'm out. I was like, I do not want to be a part of this business because if this type of business is going to be what's going to be happening, and this is now, the customer had said that this was her 4th month on these plans. So she was expecting the
Taper down.
Yeah, she was expecting it to be like $1,500 for all, you know, all of this different stuff that she was getting, but she was paying close to $3,000 a month. So I was like, deuces, I am out of here. I was like, I'm not dealing with this because I'm not out here in the business to sell people stuff that they don't need.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's why I feel like it's really important that even when you are working with veterans and they're so used to VA insurance, like my uncle is a Navy vet. So he's got VA insurance. So it's like no big deal to him. But it gets to a certain point when they are looking for a change, or maybe they are looking for additional coverage for whatever sort of situation that they're in, you really have to explain to them the ins and the outs. And sometimes what goes in one ear and out the other, they don't really fully understand. They're like, okay, I just want this now. But then they don't understand the financial implications. And it's really kind of up to you to be like, are you sure you understand? And you have to like think about it as if you're speaking to a 3-year-old and you're like, did you know you have to clean your room in order to get ice cream?
My goal is always that when I left their house, the last thing I wanted to have happen was have them look at each other and go, what'd we just do?
Exactly.
Sign of regret.
Yeah.
Right.
And before I get back to the office, they've canceled.
Exactly.
And, you know, when you talk about the hand in the face
Oh.
kind of thing, when I started in the business, there was a guy named Al Granum. I don't know if you've ever heard of Al Granum. He was considered to be one of the gurus in the life insurance. And he said something that stuck with me forever. He said, when somebody tells you no, thank them, because you're one step closer to yes. So all those hands in the face, thank them. I get it. Thank you.
No, it was very interesting too because it's a learning experience, but it was enough hands in the faces. Again, I finally said, you know what? Plus, going in, like you were saying, when you're at a Kroger, because people were like, why don't you think it was like that great of a success for me? And I'm thinking, you know what? I put myself in the position where, okay, when I go to Kroger, I'm a mom. I'm working, right? I'm trying to manage time. I'm sorry, but I'm kind of like that person, like you were saying. I don't see you. I'm not going
to get milk and cookies,
right.
And I'm out.
I want to do my grocery shopping and I want to go home. I'm not going to stand here and talk about Medicare. And I'm thinking, you know, again.
The worst part, too, is you can't do anything. You can't, like, schedule them on your dime.
Exactly, because I'm not allowed to speak. That's what I said. It's easier to be a Girl Scout. Hi, can I sell you a Girl Scout cookie? I can't say anything because, wait, I don't want to lose my license. So I just go, hi. And they're just like, what?
And now
Okay.
you know why I'm not in that.
But again, it was a horror story as a rookie, just trying to get myself out in the field, get my name known. But again, it's unbelievable how people will treat you. And you can be dressed with your logo and I'm a Medicare agent, but I think it was more scary that how many people thought I was a statue. And I scared them.
What you need is a shirt with a picture of Joe Willie Namath.
No, I actually around Thanksgiving, I was ready to buy a turkey costume off of Amazon and put it on because I was getting really tired of nobody paying attention to me. I was
not gonna lie. If I saw somebody like walking around in a turkey costume, I would definitely be like, I need to talk to this person.
See, I was so close to spending the extra money, but I'm like, you know what? We're getting to the end. We're getting to the end, but it's just
Well, and you know the ending date, right? Pearl Harbor Day. So
no, it's been that was a
I have to give you a shout out just for changing into careers and doing it that way, doing Medicare Advantage. There's many easier products to market, and
well, thank you.
I defer to you.
It's tough. It's a tough sell. Some people will say it's an easy sell, right? Because there's so many people turning 65. There's you'll hear the stories, 10,000 people turning 65 every single day. But when you have to, for one, deal with the public, right? And they have so many advertisements coming. They have everyone from the woodwork. I mean, you got the whole woodshed's coming at them. I mean, you got every single thing. They're coming at them on Facebook. They're coming at them on the phone. They're coming at them. They're in their mail. Some people, even though it's frowned upon, and some of it maybe against CMS rules, is knocking at their doors. I mean, they're coming at these folks every single angle. And, from my perspective is I've always treated everyone as they're like my grandparent, right? So, like, how would I want my grandparent to be treated in this space? Do I want someone calling them nonstop? Do I want someone sending them a mail? Yeah, well, we can mail you something. Or do we want to be bombarded with, emails and solicitations and call and hang up and then, deceiving practices?
The robocalls.
Yeah.
We get on my phone, I probably get 8 to 10 a day. My wife is a travel agent, and she works at home too, but she's got voice over internet. So all of the phones for their for the business all go to these people's homes. She gets 6 or 8 calls to that line, the business line, and from people who think she's got Medicare, and she's only 63.
They're just
but they're and they're not here. They're in the Philippines. They're in India. They're in some island in the Caribbean. I mean, if you look at the phone numbers that they call from, where's that area code go to?
I was actually just over at my friend's house for Easter, and I was talking to her parents who are on Medicare, and they've got an MAPD plan. And it is absolutely insane to me to think that he is her stepdad, I want to say, is in his late 60s now. I want to say he's almost 70, and her mom is now 67, and they still get phone calls and mailers and everything out the wazoo. And he's like, "How do I stop this?" And I'm like, "You don't," or either that, or you put your
city morgue. How can I help you?
No, seriously. I have heard quite a few people say that they recommend having their phones put in their kids' names. So then it shows up as that they're only 30 or 35.
I mean, I get it. I'm 30. I'm dating myself. I'm 36, and I still get calls nonstop, and I can see them come through my phone. It'll say scam likely.
Yep.
Or they'll start to pivot a little bit and use my zip code routing. So they'll use my my area code to be like, oh, we'll just call from a regular number to make it look like it's someone from your hometown or someone you know. But I want to allude to something that's similar to this that kind of ties into the horror story. Is I was helping not a client but a potential client out. They were getting information from me, and we were. We went through the whole process. Unfortunately, they didn't come with me, and I'm going to get to that point of why they didn't. So, I was talking to them, going through the whole process, gave them all information. We drilled it down to a carrier after, we took the appropriate steps. And they were like, okay, this is nice. I like it. I'll get back with you. Well, set up a call for the following week, and I call them back. Right. And they say, oh, I enrolled in that plan you told me that we were going to look at. Right. So I'm like, okay, who did you call my office? Did one of my other reps help you? No, the person that you set me up with from the carrier helped me out. And so I did a little digging and some research. It wasn't one of the carriers. It was an outside company that enrolled her because I looked at where the emails came from and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, well, at this time, I'm not, going to be able to further assist you until next enrollment, or we could switch you in a plan, put you in some, 5-star or something along those lines because you exercised your option. She's like, okay, well, I'll just sit here for now. Well, she calls me back 2 weeks later saying that my plan does not cover this, 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 and this. How are you going to fix it? I'm like,
I'm going to refer you to Medicare.gov, or you can call 1-800-Medicare because you went behind my back and enrolled into a plan. And so therefore, I'll also, because you went behind my back, I didn't get paid. So therefore, I don't feel financially obligated
absolutely.
to help you.
But at that point in time, I was her initial point of contact, and she was frustrated, and she took it out on me.
Yeah.
So I got the brunt of it. I kind of curtailed it a little bit and kind of educated her on what happened, and that I did not enroll her in anything personally, and that we could help her out eventually. But that's the kind of things that come about, is that if you are memorable to this person, and sometimes you may be so memorable to where they still don't think that you may have not been their agent of record.
Yeah.
And then, but they're like, well, I talked to you. But who else did you talk to amongst all these other robocalls and all these other phone calls you got? But it was my problem at the time. Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of alleviate the situation and talk her off the ledge and kind of tell her, you have to stay here. So hopefully this AAP, she calls me and she deals with me only, and not yet, and not take the brunt out on me. But that's some of the things that you kind of get placed into.
Well, I've read something recently that CMS is cracking down on the advertising. They're going to do away with the 800 number that they put on the screen. And I mean, because people have selective hearing.
Yeah.
They hear what they want to hear. They hear Joe Namath telling them that they're going to get all their Part B money back.
I actually just had to Google the actual Joe Namath Medicare commercials, because I was like, what do these actually look like? Because I'm sitting here thinking to myself, why in the world are there so many red flags? Because as independent agents, you guys know who are the reputable agents, who are the people that are actually out here working with the public and trying to solve solutions for people. And then there are obviously these other larger corporations or entities that are truly just out here just to make the sale, make the money, and then that's it. I mean, say, for example, if somebody does call into that 1-800 number, they talk to somebody, they get an enrollment. If they have an issue with that plan, they call that 1-800 number again. They talk to another agent who has no idea what in the world is going on. And then they're like, well, we're just going to try to do this, and that, because then they get another commission for it. And then they try to pull all these different strings and try all these different loopholes to not get, in trouble with CMS. But I mean, eventually it will come back to bite them in the butt. But now we're all just over here, now with all these new CMS compliances, we're all like, get them! Get them!
but good luck with that. I just don't see, CMS doesn't have any teeth. And they're going to allow agency to do this stuff because there's a way for them to keep those calls, right? Keep those Zoom calls. There's a way to save them from the bigger agencies. I work out of a porch. My business phone is a cell phone.
Right, correct. Mine too.
And
absolutely.
When I found out I had to save all my phone calls,
yep.
I was laughing. I was like, you realize who you're talking to here, right?
Exactly. We're all in the same boat.
The independent agent space got stomped into the ground with that.
And I wanted to touch base.
Redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Because I wanted to touch base because I did some senior complexes too. Also in trying to get, people to learn to trust agents, because, and this is what we were talking about. They don't, because they're getting phone calls at 6:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. These ads are misrepresenting things. Mm-hmm. They're getting some agents maybe who are not telling them the truth, and they're at the senior complexes. So when you go in, there were several times I had many people come right up to my face and say, you just want to make money, get away from me. And I'm thinking, but you don't know me. Let me talk to you. Let me get to know you. Because they're scared and they don't know who to trust. So, and that's why I did get so involved in the Wayne County area and get into some of these senior homes where these people really, really do need help, and start to do activities on my own so that they got to know that she's not just here to sell. She wants to get to know us and help us, because again, even same thing like you were saying, then they don't sign up with me. They go through they answer that phone and they might just say the word yes and all that's enough. And they get taken. But then they know me and they trust me now, so they call me, and it's like, oh, I know you're not I can't do anything for you, but I'm going to be kind and help you. And hopefully, like you said, then hopefully they'll sign up with me next to AEP. It's always a gamble, but again, this is what we deal with, and it unfortunate because like that's the horror story of walking into places and going, I don't like you. Oh, okay, great. Well, just because I'm a Medicare agent, you don't even know me. But this is the reality, and like you said, I cross my fingers that CMS will stop some of this, but I have a feeling like
The wheels of bureaucracy move slow.
very. So yeah, hands in the face and people not liking you are just part of the job, and you just smile and
I've done several. Part of what I do is I give talks to caseworkers, a lot of in different assisted living facilities, places like that, and I talk about long-term care, what it is, why it works, and how it works, and how it benefits your family. And I can do all that in about 15 minutes. But when I start my talk, I always ask them if they've brought their wooden stakes and their silver bullets and their garlic cloves, because yes, I'm an insurance agent.
I absolutely love that.
Well, guys, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I loved all of your horror stories, and I think that this is really, really beneficial for anybody who's out there listening and really just wants to dive into the space of insurance. And these are the things you need to know about. So let's go ahead and go through a couple key takeaways. We talked about life insurance and long-term care and how you can't really make Jesus your beneficiary and how it's really important to explain to your clients to also get the family involved. And when you are looking for those long-term care policies and you really want to explain to people, like, this is the reason why it's important, that they can come for your assets. They're going to come for your house. Like, and if you have these catastrophic things happen to you and you don't have health insurance, you're going to end up, if you go to the hospital and you're there for 15 days without insurance, you're going to be paying more than a mortgage for your health. So at what point is it that how much longer can you put it off? And say, okay, well, tomorrow's never promised. We also talked about what it's like to be a Medicare agent in the space, and especially as a rookie, and dealing with veterans and, going and switching from VA insurance to MAPDs, and how that can be kind of stressful in and of itself, because you're having to then reiterate to the veterans, like, okay, these are what you're going to be getting bills for now. And sometimes you have to say it over and over and over and over and over again until they get it and until they're completely annoyed with you. But also trying to get people to trust you, because as now we've discussed with, all the call centers and, the solicitation that our seniors are getting, they don't know who to trust. So it gets to a point where, how do I get these people to trust me and to get them to understand that this is my business and I don't make money off of burning you. I make money off of being able to provide for you a healthcare solution that you are going to be happy with. I want to be your educational resource. But it comes down to, like, how do we do that? And a lot of that can be done through either like digital marketing. You can educate people on social media. You can get out there and really putting yourself out there, like in the public eye, going to Kroger's and Walmart's and, doing those co-op and affinity programs are great ways to do it, as well as volunteering in your community and getting in front of people and showing people who you are as a person before they even find out who you are as a business owner.
I would also suggest that you buy a table as a vendor, any health expo you can get yourself into.
Yeah.
Most of them are only $20, and no one's going to put their hand in your face.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really great suggestion. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, okay, well, guys, I don't really have anything else to add unless you guys do.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate the time, Kels. Great topic today. I think, each one has a different perspective. We could all take lessons from each other, whether it be hand in the face or, getting cliches, right? And, for me, I just like to learn from my peers. Whether you're young, old, if you've been a day in the industry or you've been 33 years in the industry. So I just appreciate this time from my perspective, and
I do
it's always
too.
a pleasure.
One of my favorite things about conducting these interviews with all of our agents too is that I've learned so much from all of the different interviews that I've conducted so far, and really getting to learn about what it takes to work in this space and how hard it is, and how sometimes it can feel like, because a lot of people will get into the insurance industry because they hear that it's very lucrative. And, you see all these people driving around in like Maseratis and Lamborghinis and stuff, and you're like, oh, they're insurance agents, where it's like, there are so many insurance agents that are just like, yeah, LOL, like, I wish, like that, but that's not
the agency
everybody.
owner that has the
Right,
Maserati.
yeah. But so it really has brought into a perspective as to what it takes to be a small business owner. You're a one man or a one woman show over here, and you really are just trying to provide solutions to people, because the world is expensive. But healthcare costs are rising, inflation, and everybody's trying to combat it. And so you as an agent, you're just trying to provide, these consumers with the support that they need.
Yeah, I'll leave it like this is, you go to a specialist for your taxes. You go to a specialist for the doctor. You go to a specialist for any certified, type of assistance. Leverage your insurance agent. We need to make it a comeback. I think for me, I think it's huge. There's been a number of years where people look at agents as, kind of not a resource. They're the biggest resource you can have.
Yeah.
And I would get you one if you don't have one.
Absolutely. I agree. Okay. Well, guys, again, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved having you here. And if you out there listening, if you are an independent agent and you are looking for an industry partner, we here at Insurance Advisors Direct would love to be considered. As you can see, we do have lots of wonderful agents that are here that are, our industry partners, and we really appreciate all of them and everything that you guys do. And if you are interested in joining IAD and looking to obtain contracts, you can call us toll free 1-800-381-0977. You can also visit our website at www.iadbrokerage.com. You can listen to this podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And if you want to check out this podcast the day after it airs on our YouTube channel, you can do that as well. You can search us on YouTube, Insurance Advisors Direct. You can also find us on Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Again, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. I loved having you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And thank you so much again to all you guys out there listening. Bye.